Welcome back. Second part of relationship design. I hope you like what you see. You hope you've seen the article on Desire Guru, and maybe that clarified some things. Maybe it opened up the perspective a little bit more. Today we're talking about the second big step towards designing your own relationship, and that is, what is it that you want to have out of a relationship? Because that's huge. But first, click subscribe, like if you like what you see, what I'm doing, what I'm sharing here. Subscribe if you want to know more. Last time we talked, or last time I talked and you listened on YouTube, I spoke about relationships that are already being practiced and things that you can maybe open your mind a little to what is possible. And on the article I'm going even deeper with some really shitty math, but the idea is the same. I just want you to see what is actually possible, what can be done in a relationship without the perception of, oh no, this is too outside the norm. There is no such thing as the norm, and there's no such thing as too outside the norm. Whatever you feel that a relationship could and should look like, that is what it should look like for you. Should, coulda, woulda, but you know what I'm talking about. The really big step towards designing your relationship is to actually understand what you want out of the relationship. And I know I'm going to probably annoy a lot of people by I'm saying this. We are never, ever, ever, ever entering a relationship without the desire to get something out of the relationship. Unconditional love, all this kind of stuff aside, there's still something we would like to get out of a relationship. These can be arbitrary things, a partnership, somebody to hang out on the sofa with and watch Netflix regularly. Whatever it is, regular access to sex, I don't care. I don't know what it is for you. I know what it is for me, but I don't know what it is for you. And you let your mind run free, because that is a really, really, really important piece. Designing your relationship starts with figuring out what it is you want out of the relationship. These can be abstract things. These can be very concrete things. They should be somewhere in the middle between those two. It should be big enough to cover a wide set of different things, but they should also be concrete enough so you can say, I get this or I don't get this. And that's the important piece. Now, what do you need to do for that? Well, for one, you need to know yourself. If you don't know yourself, there's no way you can figure out what it is you want, right? Be honest with yourself. Number two, be honest with yourself. We all have these weird societal programming things about what is good and what is not good and what we should and could and would and have, and all this kind of mind. We used to call it mental masturbation, all these things where you go like this in your brain and you go like, oh, but I'm a good person. I don't like what I'm doing, but I'm a good person because I'm doing all these things. Well, stop that. Be honest with yourself. What you want is good. End of story. And then go from there. And then be clear why it is that you want what you want. Because there's always the chance you're getting exactly what you want. And if you have no idea why it is that you want that in the first place, there's some kind of, problems down the line in your own head where you go like, why the heck did I want that? So when you do these things, when you're knowing yourself, when you're honest with yourself, and when you figure out why, then you can outline what I call the big objective. The objective for the relationship. The reason why you hire your partner or partners, however many those are. All of that fits into the big objective, because the big objective is intrinsically tied to you. That's why I'm saying you need to know yourself, you need to be honest with yourself. You figure out that big objective, and then you hire your partners to fill that job role. They are doing the same thing. We always do the same thing. It doesn't matter if we are in like the classic relationship, from now till death, whatever we do, we always have this big objective, but we are very unclear what the objective is. So if you go in and just say, oh well, but I don't want to put that on my partner, you're always doing it. but you're doing it unconsciously. So much better to actually clearly, consciously outline what it is you want, and then go and tell your partner before you even get into the relationship. Because then they can make an educated choice. They can decide, okay, yeah, that's actually what I want, or I'm down for that because I want this and I'm getting this from the other person. So at that point, you actually enter a partnership. The problem is that I'm seeing a lot in long-term relationships is people are not clear what they actually want out of it. Hence, there is no clear agreement, and without a clear agreement, there can be no clear partnership. So by outlining, by defining what it is exactly that you want, you can have that conversation, you can have consent, which is super important, let's be honest, right? And you can have educated choice and options for the other person to say yes or no. Once you do that, it's on you. Because anything in the relationship, you will always then bring back to this big objective. I'll give you an example of that in a second. Basically, the big objective is going to be your cornerstone. It's being this thing that stabilizes that relationship, but everything else is built. So I said I'm giving you an example. A friend of mine had this situation where she defined her big objective as I want to feel a full range of emotions with this person. They were together for a while, everything was fine, they had their agreements in place. So one day she comes home and finds her partner having sex with another woman in her place. Did she get her big objective? I can tell you, after speaking to her, she did get her big objective. She felt emotions in that moment that she didn't feel in that relationship ever before. So it's on you. If you can then go and bring whatever experience you have in this relationship back to your big objective, and you can say, okay, that is actually what I'm in this relationship for. This is what I am with this person for. At that point, you get your big objective met. Now, there's another step after, but the big objective is what you always bring it back to. For another example, I was with a woman and I decided my goal for the relationship, my big objective was to grow as a person. I regularly got my ass kicked by her for my behavior, for my opinion. The thing is, I can't complain about that because I got exactly what I wanted, to grow as a person in this relationship, which I did. And so when I'm saying be careful what you wish for, be careful what your big objective is, I mean it, because you might just get it and it might not look exactly the way you want, but you're getting it, and that's the most important piece. You get what you actually want out of the relationship. So, if that makes any sense to you, again, like, subscribe, those buttons down there, and I'll be back talking about, well, I'm making an intermediary video about talking about compromises in relationships, because that's kind of linked to this video and kind of goes before the next step of this, to understand this concept of how compromises work and should work, in my opinion. And then we're back to the third part where we're talking about the next step. So until then, have fun figuring out your big objective, and leave me a comment if you feel like it. Have fun.